Chapter 8 of the Hampstead Mystery. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Mary Rhodey. The Hampstead Mystery by John R. Watson and Arthur J. Rees. Chapter 8. Crewe had well-furnished offices in Holborn, but lived in a luxurious flat in Jermyn Street. Although he went to and fro between them daily, his personality was almost a dual one, though not consciously so. His passion for crime investigation was distinct, in outward seeming, at all events, from his polished West End life of wealthy ease. Grave, self-contained, and inscrutable, he slipped from one to the other with an effortless regularity, and the fashionable folk with whom he mixed in his leisured bachelor existence in the West End, apart from knowing him as the famous Crewe, had even less knowledge of the real man behind his suave exterior than the clients who visited his inquiry rooms in Holborn to confide in him their stories of suffering, shame, or crimes committed against them. His commissionaire and body servant, Stork, had once, in a rare, almost unique, convivial moment, declared to the caretaker of the building that he knew no more about his master after 10 years than he did the first day he entered his service. He was deep beyond all belief, was Stork's opinion, delivered with reluctant admiration. Although Crewe did not allow the externals of his two existences to become involved, his chief interest in life was in his work. He had originally taken up detective work more as a relief from the boredom of his lot as a wealthy young man, leading an aimless, useless life with others of his class, than by deliberate choice of his vocation. His initial successes surprised him. Then the work absorbed him and became his life's career. He had achieved some memorable successes, and he had made a few failures, but the failures belonged to the earlier portion of his career, before he had learnt to trust thoroughly in his own great gifts of intuition and insight, and that uncanny imagination which sometimes carried him successfully through when all else failed. Serious devotees of chess knew the name of Crewe in another capacity, as the name of a man who might have aspired to great deeds if he had but taken the game as his life's career. He had flashed across the chess horizon some years previously as a player of surpassing brilliance, by defeating Turgieff when the great Russian master had visited London and had played 12 simultaneous boards at the London Chess Club. Crewe was the only player of the 12 to win his game, and he did so by a masterly concealed ending in which he handled his pawns with consummate skill, proffering the sacrifice of a bishop with such art that Turgieff fell into the trap and was mated in 5 subsequent moves. Crewe proved this was not merely a lucky win by defeating the young South American champion, Caranda, shortly afterwards, when the latter visited England and played a series of exhibition games in London on his way to Moscow, where he was engaged in the championship tourney. Once again it was masterly pawn play which brought Crewe a fine victory, and aged chess enthusiasts who followed every move of the game with trembling excitement declared afterwards that Crewe's conception of this particular game had not been equalled since Morphy died. They predicted a dazzling chess career for Crewe, but he disappointed their aged hearts by retiring suddenly from match chess, and they mourned him as one unworthy of his great chess gifts and the high hopes they had placed in him. But, as a matter of fact, Crewe's intellect was too vigorous and active to be satisfied with the triumphs of chess, and his disappearance from the chess world was contemporary with his entrance into detective work, which appealed to his imagination and found scope for his restless mental activity. But if detective work so absorbed him that he gave up match chess entirely, he still retained an interest in the science of chess, reserving problem play for his spare moments, and, when not immersed in the solution of a problem of human mystery, he would turn to the chessboard and seek solace and relaxation in the mysteries of an intricate four-mover. He had once said that there was a certain affinity between solving chess problems and the detection of crime mystery. Once the key move was found, the rest was comparatively easy. But he added with a sigh that a really perfect crime mystery was as rare as a perfect chess problem. Human ingenuity was not sufficiently skillful, as a rule, to commit a crime or construct a chess problem with completely artistic concealment of the key move. And for that reason most problems and crimes were far too easy of detection to absorb one's intellectual interests and attention. It was the morning after Crewe's visit to Riversbrook, and the detective sat in his private office, glancing through a notebook which contained a summary of the Hampstead mystery. Crewe was a painstaking detective as well as a brilliant one, and it was his custom to prepare several critical summaries of any important case on which he was engaged, writing and rewriting the facts and his comments until he was satisfied that he had a perfect outline to work upon, with the details and clues of the crime in consecutive order and relation to one another. Experience had taught him that the time and labor this task involved were well spent. If an unexpected development of the case altered the facts of the original summary, Crewe prepared another one in the same painstaking way. The summaries, when done with, were methodically filed and indexed and stored in a strong room at the office for future reference, where he also kept full records of all the cases upon which he had been engaged, together with the weapons and articles that had figured in them. Huge volumes of newspaper reports and clippings, photographs of criminals with their careers appended, and a host of other odds and ends of his detective investigations, the whole forming an interesting museum of crime and mystery, which would have furnished a store of rich material for a fresh Newgate calendar. It was an axiom of Crewe's that a detective never knew when some old scrap of information or some trifling article of some dead and forgotten crime might not afford a valuable clue. Expert criminals frequently repeated themselves, like people in lesser walks of life, and Crewe's library and museum, as he called it, had sometimes furnished him with a simple hint for the solution of a mystery which had defied more subtle methods of analysis. Crewe, after carefully reading his summary of the murder of Sir Horace Fewbanks, and making a few alterations in the text, drew from his pocket the glove which Inspector Chippenfield had handed him as a clue, took it to the window, and carefully examined it through a large magnifying glass. He was thus engrossed when the door was noiselessly opened, and Stork, the bodyguard, entered. Stork belied his name. He was short and fat, with a red mottled face, a model of discretion and imperturbability, who had served Crewe for 10 years, and bade fair to serve him another 10 if he lived that long. In his heart of hearts he often wondered why a gentleman like Crewe should so far forget what was due to his birth and position as to have offices in Holborn. Holborn, of all parts of London! but the awe he felt for Crewe prevented his seeking information.